And so, do you know what Flaska is?
I don't. Tell me.
Oh, you look up Flaska. Flaska's down the rabbit hole.
Oh, is that the what's it called? Uh the formulated water, not formulated water.
The
Structured
formula
water.
bottle that
Stru
treats the water. Yeah.
Tell me about that. I haven't gotten too deep into that.
I don't know that we want to here publicly. It could ruin everything, right? It immediately, because people are going, okay, they're crazy. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, but you know what, coach?
structured water,
Yeah.
Mazimoto, I mean, whether you believe it or not, whether you follow the book, and if you look at everything that happens, we barely, I think we touched on Quantec at one time in our conversations. I can't remember, but Flask is owned by a friend of mine, Max Vreco in Slovenia, and he produces these bottles, and he's able to uh, program. There's a laser process that programs the bottles with frequencies. If we start to look at frequency medicine, which I think we're going to see a whole lot of the future. I mean, it's not here now, but it's coming fast. Um, you can look up flaska.eu or flaska.us, I think it is. But I've been using it for, oh, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 12 years. So, uh, they program certain frequencies in the bottle that treats the water. The water then has those frequencies. Can be specific to you. It can be general. It can be a lot of different things. I find it very nice. I like it. I've used it. And Mox is
Is
um
is this it right here on the screen?
yeah, yeah, that's it right there. That's Flaska.
Yeah, the structured
So,
water.
Mm-hmm.
right, I just moved to Vancouver, but I've spent the last 10 years in Switzerland.
Where were you
They're very,
at? You were in
I was,
Zurich?
no, I was living in the countryside by Bern.
Oh, you were by Bern. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Rolf
so where,
Rolf had visited you, hadn't he?
yeah, Rolf stayed with me for a little while.
Yeah, yeah,
And
because
I'm
I
not sure
because Bern is where we would go to train, as he probably told you. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so I was about 15 minutes from that training facility there in
Ah, yeah.
Wankdorf. And they love all, like the Swiss are quite funny with their water. And I had one client of mine who was obsessed with only drinking spring water, natural.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he used to say he dived really deep into frequencies and stuff. It's also the first place that I really heard such things.
Nonsense.
Well, just it's just looking a bit deeper into things, than just looking at it on the label, I guess. Now,
Yeah.
would spring water, would that be? They call it like that. This water is alive, and normal water from the tap is dead water. That would be the
Correct.
direct.
Correct. That's kind of the
Now,
way you'd look at it. Except there's a whole lot of living little things in our tap water. So, you
of
know,
course. Of course.
um,
So from the spring, there's a lot of living things in there too. So is the spring water better just because of the minerals that are coming from the
I think
mountain, or also the frequency that you get because you get it from grounding too, right? This
both,
sort of
both.
frequency
Yeah,
exchange.
both of those things I think are accurate. Um, and obviously, you know, water is life. It
Hmm.
is, no matter how you look at it. And when I first met Mox, oh, I think 2010 or somewhere in there, I was obviously extremely skeptical until he told me his story, and it was corroborated by a few people, and the story is pretty fascinating. And if you want to ever dive deeper into it, he's the kind of guy you should have on here and dive into how what this is, what brings people to this. How do you arrive with these things? Whether it's uh, I mean, most people would probably call it scammy, hoaxy. I just don't. I think that in some cases, people are just ahead of the curve, far enough ahead of the curve where we can't, well, it's hard to accept or we can't understand it. But in this case, um, I just like drinking the water. I definitely feel, oh, more open, easy, relaxed with it than I do with just regular water. Now you're living in Vancouver, you're going to have some great water up there if you go outside the city a little bit, you know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely. But going back to what you were saying, it's a bit out there, but the line between genius and madness is very, very thin now. And sometimes it's only in 10 years that we can look back and say, actually, that guy was probably
well,
just about.
look at Rolf. I mean, come on. No,
There you go. There you go.
I can make
So,
fun of him. I'm probably the only person who can. But you know, yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a fine line. I mean, we now look at what Tesla did, 100 years ago, and now we're doing it. I mean, we've got these things, and we're talking to each other on this thing, But got to remember, science doesn't know what it's talking about, you know. Yeah, we have to keep that in mind. That science, particularly the climate scientists, are really stupid, obviously lying to everybody, and and others like that. So, um, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough time to be alive because it's very difficult to discriminate, and I mean in a positive way. To not discriminate, to hold somebody back or to put them over here, but to be discriminating, to be able to go through all of the material that's available to try to figure out where the truth lies.
Mm,
Because
mm.
it's hard to find, man.
What do you think of the Kangen water?
I think it's along the same lines, but not quite. Uh, I would if I can't afford one, but I would probably own an alkaline water system if I could. And maybe I will eventually here. Um, Most of our water has, we've got a lot of fluoridated water, a lot of chlorinated water. Um, there was probably a time where it was a little necessary, but um, I think we're fast approaching the time where it's probably not as much. Um, I just don't like the fact that we're drinking so much bottled water out of yeah, out of plastic. I mean, if nothing else, at least this thing is glass. At
Yep.
least I can fill it up and I'm not using plastic water bottles. And that makes me feel better to do my little part, what little we can do. If, it's people you hear coaches always talking about, we're trying to just get 1/10 of 1% better every day, and if we each practice that in our own lives, the world would be a lot better and easier place to live
Hmm.
but I mean,
Hmm.
even stainless steel is not good to drink out of, right? So,
in.
like
No,
those cups that got so popular, they start to.
aluminum, what more than stainless? Yeah, yeah. Lost you, Alex. Sorry, I talked over you. My bad.
No, not at all, mate. Sorry, I think my signal. Mike, am I all right, signal wise?
You're
You
good.
are now. Yeah, we lost you there for a moment.
Yeah, so no, I was just saying about how those stainless steel or aluminium can end up fracturing, and then you can ingest these heavy metals too, which is obviously not.
Yeah, I mean, heavy metal ingestion is, depending upon where you are, anywhere in the world, is still a concern. I mean, certainly mercury is a big concern for most people. And trying to get it out of your system is damn near impossible once it's in.
Hmm.
So, um, I just try to use glass when I can and stay away from stainless and plastic. Um, I switched all my Tupperware. This is why Tupperware is having so much trouble. I mean, they
Yeah.
went bankrupt, or claimed bankruptcy. I mean, they just weren't quick enough to switch to glass. They
Yep.
got the lids, just change the bottoms. Um, there was a point not very long ago where if you were reading the news, you'd see that there was a sand shortage, um, because they were using all the sand to make different types of glasses. And now all of a sudden you're running out of sand. You got to make sure you got to make sand, which is a little crazy to think about. It looks like the Sahara is a gold mine. Uh, I'm sure America will find a way to mine it. We're pretty good at that. So,
What do you? What do you think about, so obviously you mentioned about with the plastics, but the plastics are literally everywhere, right? They're in food
Yes.
packaging as well. Like you can't buy anything that's not got plastic in it. So what do you recommend in terms of trying to detox the plastic out of your body? Is there a way to do it or not?
There's a whole lot of stuff out there right now in terms of trying to find a way to detox that human body. You know, my gosh, I could probably run down a list of supplements. I'd have to go get them. Um, particularly heavy metals to start with, and then I don't think you're ever going to get the plastics out of your body once they're in. I mean, we're all running around with basically our former cooking pans in our system. Um, but it doesn't cause any problems though. You got to believe the industry. That's for sure. Probably the best book that I read on all of this and was Merchants of Doubt. Did you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
Fantastic book, on how industry just lies to us. And we're in the middle of those big lies right now again. But and then where you are now in Vancouver, there's a great book called Salmon Without Rivers,
Mhm.
which is a fantastic treatise of why we lost all those salmon runs. Not just dams, but there was other underlying reasons. Dams being, of course, one. But Switzerland has some fantastic uh, methods for allowing the fish ladders they design are so much different than the ones we have. I don't know if you've seen any of them from Switzerland. They're pretty cool, and they allow
Yeah.
fish to go up big dams. So yeah, we're sort of not on the topic of exercise and training, but
Cares. I just want to pick your brain on shit.
You know, one of the things I would love to ask you, Randy, Mike, I'm sorry to jump in, but I
Keep
don't
going.
want to forget
no,
before we go.
what's that?
So, we were talking about frequencies before.
Yeah,
Now, when I first moved to Swiss, this was over 10 years ago, I met a very rich man who told me that he purchased a massage table and he feels like it helped him to get over cancer. Now, of course, you hear a lot of these claims about anything sort of healing cancer and stuff. And he just said to me, listen, I'd love you to try it out to see what you think. So it's basically kind of like a fancy massage table. It's called an iLife Som. I'm not sure if
right.
you've heard it. No, it's only really in the German part of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, massage table, but it has many different, let's say, therapies involved. So, say for
Built into
example,
it. Yeah.
magnetic, sound, infrared. I can look at it. It's got music involved in it. There's different tones.
Sound therapy
Elect
and tones. Yeah, combines almost all of it's basically the shotgun effect.
exactly. And I was just curious, have you ever even come across that, or have you used that with any of your athletes? I think
Haven't
they
used it, only seen it. I've usually the discrete pieces, PEMF, red light, hyperbaric, obviously frequency-based stuff. Matter of fact, I think I've got 3 Rife machines behind me here. Because I believe in it. I think that we're gonna see that cancer specifically, and they're starting to treat cancer differently anyways, but we're gonna see, I think, cancer, not now, but in years to come, we're gonna see specific treat frequencies for different cancers, I think. It's gonna happen. We've just got to get the young researchers to get out there and get after it and try to, first of all, it's pretty weird, so it's hard to get any young researchers to look at this because who's going to support them? Where's the support mechanism for somebody who's going to go down a rabbit hole? We don't do rabbit hole research a whole lot. We might be doing more than I realize, of course. Military, I'm sure, does a ton of it, you know. Um, but I think that we'll see frequency-based medicine get more and more accepted and more viable in the next 15 to 20 years.
So
So yeah, the table, yeah, yeah, Mike.
go, going with more of the frequency stuff and the frequency of water. First off, that I drink our well water, and I have my reverse osmosis machine on it, which filters out the PFAs, but the fucking machine is made out of plastic. So like like what am I filtering out just to put the shit back in?
Right. It's pretty
But
funny.
yeah. So I the frequency of water, the moon charging of water, have you ever seen that when people actually charge it in specific moon phases and all that?
Yeah, it's all there. I mean, yeah, I've read it all. I've looked at it. I believe it's something that I mean, just if you really look at frequency and you look at harmonics and you look at two people and you think about two people coming together, how their frequencies have to match, or if they don't, you have issues, or you don't have issues. Um, when Mox first told me his stories about he was a skier, then he was a strawberry farmer. And he told me a story of how he was producing his strawberries, and he was like, "Okay, here's how much I got a year. Here's what I was getting." And then someone turned him on to frequency water, and he started treating his strawberries. Only part of it, though. Part of it with structured water, part of it not. And the part with structured water was like 8 times the yield. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But
I've heard.
that wasn't the amazing part. What the amazing part was his fields were on a little bit of a slope, and so the water ran off and into a farmer's pond. So he changed his whole field over, and the farmer's horses would never drink from that pond until he switched to structured water, and then they all started drinking from the pond.
How do you structure the water?
They use different ways to structure it. In his case, he's using laser, but uh, there's different methods, and I'd have to look at them all. I mean, they're in a book behind me. I don't remember them all right now, but you can structure it with just by running frequency through it. You can structure it through frequencies in lasers. You can structure it through frequencies in different materials, different rocks, different things. I mean, it's a little weird. I'm not even going to tell you it's not weird. You know,
I've heard of
Masimoto would just structure water with words, if you recall.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
The I love you, the I hate
yeah,
you. Yep. Oh,
yeah,
and they do that with food too. I've seen that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's wild. But as we get older and longevity, I mean, I'm 70. I'm looking at maybe I got 12, 15 good years ahead of me if I'm lucky, maybe more if I'm really lucky. But um, I mean, the lifespan of Americans is going this way. It's not going this way. I mean, most of us are trying to um, you know, slow the slide down. We're not going to stop it, but at least we're going to, not have it precipitous, but make it so we can slide into base, slide into home, still moving. And I think that we're gonna find that the people who have money are probably going to do this more because they can. People without money are probably going to suffer significantly, and I think we're moving more and more in that direction all the time with this financial discrepancy we're starting to see in the Western world.
So I think a lot of the talk has been on how good frequency can be for recovery and getting you into sort of parasympathetic. Do you
Yeah,
any
yeah.
kind of frequencies to get into more of like those alpha brain states and more sort of like performance orientated
Well, I
interventions?
mean, even the breathing, even the military breathing techniques. What is it?
Breathing.
847, was it, or 478? I can't remember what it is. But
You got box breathing, which is 4 4 4 4. So inhale four, hold
yeah,
four, exhale four.
and they do, I think they do in four, hold seven, out eight.
Mm.
And that, when you measure that, you'll see, if you have an Omegawave on, you'll see a parasympathetic response. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Omega Wave response to different nutrition like water? The difference in water, the difference,
But I'll tell you, the biggest response I have seen on the Omegawave was with tapping, EFT, if you're familiar with EFT. So EFT, started using 35, almost 40 years ago. But when I've used it on people who've had really high sympathetic responses and watch it just drop 400 points. This is on the old Omegawave system. You could see this better. On the original one. And that just tells you how much energy your body is dealing with and flowing through it. And the Chinese aren't stupid. I mean, obviously, acupuncture and the meridians have a purpose, and that runs through not just Chinese but Indian, and the one that everybody misses is the Egyptians. The Egyptian medical. I mean, that is as old as any, and they do. There's some of those guys, if you can find one, and they're so rare, I mean, extremely rare. If you can find an older Egyptian acupuncture type of doctor, you will find someone who could do some crazy stuff. CPK, we use microcurrent. I started using microcurrent in 1981. CPK USA, if you look up CPK came out of Alan Baradol, really. There was a chiropractor who started to figure out some things, killed in a car crash in England in I think 1990 or 91. But CPK USA, they have figured out a lot of the frequencies that treat different problems. And see if you show it there. Yep, that's CPK. And that's out there. I mean, we used to have a couple guys in the track circuit that did this, and they were kind of our last resort guys. When everything else was bad, you went to them, to take care of the issue. So this is these are the guys that we call on when nothing else is working.
Mm-hmm.
I
last
mean,
result.
I've got personal experience with some of the things they've done with me, and it's like, damn, guys, that's amazing. But there's CPK, there's another group that uses microcurrent to do the same thing, and then another group that applies another device with frequencies to do it as well.
We were talking about the different currents last time, microamps, picoamps.
Pico, and now Tera, I guess.
So
Hertz, I should say.
When I was, I just don't get the same result without the sensation. And the sensation when I do the stim on my guys is based off amplitude. So unless they're feeling it for whatever reason, I don't know. Like that since our talk, I've been flirting with some things here and there,
Yep.
and I'm not getting nearly the.
Are you just using pads?
No, it's a direct needle current. So stick the needles in and hook the. Now, also too, I'm using a Japanese Ito, and that device is completely inaccurate. It's not what it says. The numbers don't equate. They're close.
Yeah,
But
if you're gonna do needles, you got to do probably 1 or 2 milliamps. I mean milliamps. Jeez. Um, yeah, 1 or 2. I think it's one. I think it's 2 hertz is the acupuncture frequency. I believe that's right.
So the hertz is essentially like beats per minute, right? So
Right,
1 hertz
right.
is like 1 beat per minute, or one beat per
Whatever.
second, or
Yeah, it's
whatever the hell it
more.
is. And
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
when
And
when
then go ahead.
when doing, I guess the amplitude needs to be lower, because when I'm doing low hertz, it's too much for these guys. It ends up causing pain in the needle to sometimes almost
What
stab in
hurts?
deeper.
What hurts you using?
So the lower the hertz, so right now I'm doing 80 hertz. What I've noticed best for muscle pain or pain, from muscular tension, the
Yeah.
alleviate is, and just injecting energy into it is 80 plus hertz, 80 to 150 hertz to maybe even 300 hertz. I've been
Yeah.
sticking with 80 lately, and it's been, and a low amplitude. I tell them, hey, 1, 2, or 3, 3 being like, holy shit, this is too much. We get them chilling at a 2. Now, if they're in extreme pain, I put it on minimal, and I want them feeling like a 0 to a 1 sensation.
Well, I mean, with pain, if you're talking pain, you can just go direct positive
What
and
do you
you'll
mean?
take care of almost all pain. Yeah.
What do you mean direct positive?
Well, it means if you have a tool that has direct positive, you use just the direct positive end, and the negative
Oh,
is the ground somewhere else.
hmm
Um, I have rarely gone. I mean, most of the time I'll use zero point 0.3, 40, and 300. 300 for limp, 40 for pain, direct positive, and then zero point 0.3 for healing and electromassage. And there's a lot of other ones, but those are my kind of my go-tos.
hmm
Um, and I don't do I don't do any needles because that's not my thing, but
hmm
I do electromassage. And that you could just feel the tissues change under your hand. Now, when you start to look at what is happening in terms of the nociceptors in the fascia, now, now you're starting to look at applying frequency and current in the fascia, so the superficial fascia, and how that's going to affect everything underneath. So I think there's a whole lot of things to learn, and I don't have all the answers, that's for damn sure. But um, in terms of pain, yeah, you go high, yeah, you're just gonna fry it. Like,
hmm
okay, I don't feel any pain anymore. All right.
Yeah.
But have you taken care of it? Have you just masked the pain through that big explosion? I mean, if you look at Bjorn Nordstrom's work, with needle biopsies and everything that Bjorn did back before he passed away, you know, he was looking at pico. He was looking at really low levels. And then Jerry Jacobson, before Jerry passed away with COVID, Jerry was doing his um, Jacobson's resonance. He was doing, picoteslas to treat. And I saw some absolutely stupendous results from that damn thing. Like weird, where I had to walk away and go, damn, what the hell was that just happened? You know, Guys who'd had knee pain 15, 16 years, 20 minutes gone. Picoteslas, 2 Tesla generators across from each other, and the joints immersed in it, and it's gone. How did that happen? You know, I saw him take a guy, good friend, who had Parkinson's, sorry, pretty much confined to a wheelchair, could walk a little bit, but very, very difficult. Put him between two generators, stood up out of his wheelchair, walked around like it was normal. But turn it off and he's right back. So, what's going on there? I mean, all this is just to me intriguing and questioning. I mean, if I was younger, I probably would go back into trying to figure out what some of this stuff is because it's weird. It's science fiction for most of us.
hmm
Yeah. I mean, it just is. You aren't going to find many coaches going to sit down and talk about this publicly, by the way. I'll get fried for this one. You know? Um, you might go, this goes in the Randy file. We're going to let's leave this one over here for right now.
I was gonna say earlier, some of the greatest coaches and some of the greatest minds are very, very fucking quirky and very weird. And there's a reason why you're good at what you do is because you don't think like everyone else. So you see
Oh,
things from a different perspective, man. Like I can appreciate that.
yeah. And not everybody will, but yeah. And I think we do. You know, I I mean, it's been years and years of doing this, but at the same time, I have to rack my brain to give you where, when, how. I'd have to go back, to the bookcase over there and go to my electrotherapy section. You sent me that one book, Mike, I've got right here. I've been reading through it. And, the body electric and all that stuff that we read way back when, this, reading what Tesla was talking about, Rife. I mean, I think you want to believe we want to believe this stuff works because we see some results and we can't really explain them. What's like, how did that happen? And we don't know. The body can heal itself if you give it half a chance, you know?
So you see this, what I got right here?
Yeah.
Different hertz, different frequency of different tissues. Right? It's
Right.
I mean, there's so much shit. This is one of my former professors. He
Yeah.
has a electroacupuncture medicine course.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. And I mean, but you see the different hertz for different tissues, and that's not even necessarily what it responds to, but these are, let me see if I can, and look at this. This is the Edo that I actually use.
Right, right.
And it breaks everything down. I mean, it is, and this is actually, here we go. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So look at the frequencies. The frequencies is the hertz essentially. And look at, you have zero point 0.5 to 2 hertz neuroinhibition. Then the 400 hertz is dopamine, 300 hertz acetylcholine, 200 hertz serotonin, norepinephrine, like 80 hertz is GABA. So I don't, and how much of this is real, factual versus woo woo? Like, but it's a start, and it's
Yeah,
somewhere to go. I don't know.
it is. I mean, I think, when we start looking at cancer and things, they're starting to talk 150 to 300,000 hertz. They're trying to go very high frequencies, you know, and with different cancers having different. And then when you ask that question about nutrition, now you're looking at the frequencies that they resonate, each molecule, each type of nutrition.
Yep.
Why do mushrooms work so well for certain things? Got to measure that one. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there measuring it. You know, I'm pretty positive there is. Um, but that kind of stuff. The very first slide you put up, um, that was there.
Do you want me to reload it?
Yeah, let's put it back up again. I want to.
You got it. Let me share. And the first slide, I'll go right to that.
Now it was down, and it was
This one right here.
next slide up. There it is. Yeah, this one. So when you look at these frequencies, how did they measure them?
I,
And and did they measure them? Did they put a needle into it, or did they just measure it superficially and then drive it? I don't know.
Mhm.
But when you look at that and you see these hertz, I mean, none of them are, in my way of thinking, low enough to be the frequencies of what really is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Omegawave, what frequency is an Omegawave at? When you read what's her name's research on it, and I've got it here somewhere, I can probably find it. But when Ilya, geez, I have to look it up. Forgot her name. But when you look at when the Germans discovered omega waves, and the Russians took all that brain research with them back to Russia after World War II. So they were doing omega wave studies in the 50s and trying to figure out what it does. Now, omega waves, I completely missed omega waves in all my physiology, but I went back and took out a couple books. I'll be damned if it wasn't right in there. In regular basic human phys books, they talk about essentially omega waves without naming them, and you know, low frequency, um, actually, yeah, low frequency, low amplitude wave that carries all your physiological data. So just think about that. Now, what if you interject frequencies in somebody's head? Are you messing with their omega waves, you know? You know, we're all just trying to get delta, but really we got to get down further.
You're about to go into a 5G rant?
Yeah, no, no, but I could, you know. I mean, I have mine's on my phone, you know, it's right here, wherever it is. Live well. I think it's the best of the group. Um, for little, you know, the little stickers you put on your phone. I mean, we got to protect our brains.
Mhm.
You know, nobody knows that more than anybody who's ever had a concussion. You know, I was just it was interesting. I was having a conversation with small one on Facebook with Duncan French talking about um, SpO2, SMO2 in the stratosphere, ATC. And then he said, you know, and we looked at NERS and oxygen in the brain. And I'm like, have to at MMA. You just have to, you know, it's with UFC. Um, but we probably all should be dealing with that. And that's where it's nice with the Stratosphere ATC. You can actually get that stuff. And I think it's a game changer, and I'm hoping to see a lot more places. It's just so expensive, but eventually I think it's going to become a natural part of health for people to go through this um, intermittent hypoxia, but fast, not slow.
There was a company, forget what it was, and it was a $15,000 unit where they had
Go to altitude.
is that what it was?
Yeah, out of Australia.
I don't know where it was out of. I bought one of their machines for one of my high profile guys.
Uh-huh.
And we were using it, and one of the protocols that they gave us was start off hypoxic, right? Like you're training at altitude. And
Right.
then once you get, I think it was blood O2 got down to like 85% or below 85% or something when we had one of the monitors on, then flush it with pure O2. You wait until you're hypoxic and then you just fucking slam it home. And it was supposed to be one of the best things that you could do for brain health, for recovery, for everything. Like just
Yeah.
the instant feeding of the oxygen to the cells.
Well, if
We
you
it was exhausting for him. He stopped doing it, but like I don't know.
well,
I didn't.
if you go to LA, you need to stop into Stratosphere and go through it once if you're in Los Angeles. Um, you've only got three in the country right now. UFC has one and LA has two. So, but to speak from experience and to sit in this chamber and go from sea level to 9,000 feet in basically 30 seconds, you know, and then from 9,000 to, you know, in increments up from there up to 24,000, you know, in a relatively short amount of time, and what it does to your lungs and how everything opens up, and then what it's doing with your brain. I mean, I can send you the research. It's pretty compelling to see what's going on there.
So, in layman's terms, what actually is going on with the brain then here?
Well, I can't talk to you about the brain specifically. I can tell you what I felt. I'm still going through. I just got this stuff sent to me about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't been able to get through all of it. Um, been busy trying to clean my house. But in general, you're starting to see increased stem cell production
Mm.
in other parts of the body. And this is something that's really obviously vital for us as we age, you know, because it slows down and you've got the senescent cells, which are now have to be moved out, flushed out, changed. Um, and I mean, more than happy to share that with you so you guys can take your minds because I'm kind of busy right at the moment, not spending that much time digging into that research. But when I went through it real quickly, it was like, oh wow, okay, this is what I was feeling. This is what everybody's been talking about. and it looks like they've got it. Bruce Johnson, yeah, out of Mayo Clinic has done the majority of the research on this. And he's an altitude guy, was Everest and all of that. And he has that, and that's whose research I've got sitting here. Let me see if I can find it here.
It reminds me of when we had Sami Masri on mic, and he was talking about those exosomes and how good they are for concussions and brain health, which is essentially the
Stem cells.
purest, though, isn't it? Exosome, yeah.
Yeah, let's well, if you look up Stratosphere ATC, you can find it's online.com.
No problem.
Um, let's see here. Just going into my OneDrive. Master. Okay. So I'm gonna just send this to you, Mike. It's just a little bit, let me see. Oh, nope, not there. Nope. There we go. See if I can find it in Messenger, Instagram, Journal. Oh, there's Messenger.
This is the website here, right?
Yeah, there we go. There, I just sent you that. This is just the benefits. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Got it.
Brain plasticity one is the big one. That's the for the aging. That for us, that's a huge.
Yeah. Yeah,
But see,
that's a huge fear.
but it's not one or the other. It's the combination. Did you get that article? Did you get that article I just sent you?
I got it.
Okay. You might be able to put that up because it's pretty much the same thing, but it just gives you a little bit of explanation why it's different. And there's nobody else doing this that I'm aware of. There's people doing hyperbaric, doing hypobaric, you know.
Mhm.
They're doing, enhanced oxygen. But these guys, Bobby Williams, Bruce, they've hit on something.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
the hyperbaric and hypobaric. Yes.
yeah.
That and it's never they don't do the two. They
Uh,
don't combine the two of them.
yeah. And one of the things that they found out is that when you're doing hypobaric a lot, it's actually bad for you.
Yeah.
It will bring your training down if you're not really careful. And when I had them do SMO2, so we're looking at SPO2 and we see SPO2 down, like I think I got down to 72%, at 24,000 feet, something like that. I was still conscious. It was not a problem. Yeah. But when you see that, and then when you're looking at muscle oxygen at the same time, it's just dropped. It's dropped down. I mean, and when you're just at rest. Now, if you're exercising, it's different. And this is one of the things that USC's doing. The Stratosphere, you can actually exercise in it. Treadmill, bike, lift.
It's a
It's big
huge
enough.
unit, right?
It's pretty big. Yeah, it's good size. I mean, it's probably 6 or 7 feet across by 10 feet long. Yeah. But it's solid steel. I mean, it's not like a neat little altitude room. I mean, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty substantial. Um, that's why they're so expensive. But you can see he starts to talk about why this works and why it's working for you. And that's Bobby Williams talking here, but we can also, that's also available from the doctor, the MD researchers that are doing this.
Gotcha. I'll put this in the show notes.
And I can find, yeah. Um, let's see.
Now, you would you use this for physical recovery or just mental?
Oh, physical, for sure. Both. Like concussed people, they should be living in there as far as I'm saying, you know, every day. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. You can't share this one, okay?
Okay, you got it.
You can read it right now. You can share it with Alex, but don't. So what precipitated your move to Vancouver?
Family, mate. My missus grew up here, so
Huh?
we're here for a little hiatus for 2 years, and then we
Yeah,
see how we go. Yeah, yeah.
it's a
So
great
far, it's
place. I
close
mean,
to.
it's
Sorry,
really
buddy.
nice. You know, I lived in Bellingham for a few years, so
Yeah,
yeah,
not far, not far.
no, not far at all. And there's a lot of good people up there too. You know, Peter Twist is up there. Colin Milner's up there, who does the ICAA, International Council on Active Aging, is there. He's down in Richmond area, south of the airport. Um, let me see. There's a couple people in Burnaby. Um, but you've got a nice group of human beings that function there. Plus, you got such a large Chinese population as well,
Yes, that's for sure.
which is
That's for sure.
which has driven the cost up incredibly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The housing
Oh,
market is crazy.
oh, a little different than Switzerland. I mean, in Switzerland, you can still buy something, you know. And it's funny because I've been looking at the potential of moving to Switzerland if I could
Okay.
find a way, but I can't find a way really. You know, there's just no way
Well,
to
we
get
can
there.
maybe discuss off there, and there's a couple ways. I'm not sure. It might be a bit complicated because of being US citizen,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yep. Yeah. That makes it a problem.
But there are some ways. There are some ways.
Yeah. Well, I think when you know we're sort of skirting around the whole issue here with the frequency and the hyperbaric and hypobaric, and all. We're really skirting around the issue of biohacking is what we're talking about. You know, and that's becoming a mainstream word here, that something that we've kind of done for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about the PEMF and you talk about hyperbaric and red light therapy and Quantec and all these other different things, it's biohacking. Nutritional biohacking has to coincide though. And that's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Without a doubt, correct magnesium is a huge part of biohacking. Big part. Finding good magnesium is not easy, you know. Um, I still muscle test people. I just use a straight muscle test on supplements. You know, so grab it, hold it to your tummy, and see if you go weak. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't think muscle testing, but you know, I grew up with George Goodhart. I mean, I don't know if you know who George is, but
No.
George invented muscle, AK, applied kinesiology.
Mm-hmm.
He and Tom Wang basically put that together. Tom was the inventor of the myomatic and the microcurrent therapy. So, you know, there's a it's a small world once you start
Yeah.
digging around in it. You know, there's not and before people were pretty quiet because FDA, American Medical Association, people would get in your head, you know, or get in the way and say you can't claim this, can't claim that. Okay, well, don't claim it. Just
Yeah.
do it, you know.
You've got
But
some
yeah. Hmm?
incredibly smart people in this field, though, because I mean, even David Hawkins, the I think he's a medical doctor from Harvard, is it? And he wrote a book a long time ago about the frequency of different emotions, then
Hmm.
about also again muscle test and see where people are at based on just the emotional state they're in. I think shame being the lowest. I think if I'm correct, something like that. But yeah, I mean,
Shame or guilt, one of the two. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's yeah, emotional anatomy, that book, emotional anatomy, you probably have that. You should have that in your you have that in your let me see. See if I can find it real quick. Usually I keep it pretty close, but may take me a moment to run it down.
Stanley Kellerman.
Yes,
Yeah, I got it
Share
here.
that on the screen, Brooker.
yeah.
Got it.
It's one that every coach should really have.
Just need to accept it, Mike.
Ah, yep. This is, of course, I think every politician should have to read it too, just like they should have to go to Auschwitz, but